I feel like I'm ready to, hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up, everybody? My name is Jeremy Jones, and this is the Georgia Followers podcast. Today, we're here with Ryan Cameron, a long time.
First of all, Jeremy, let me just say this, bro.
Okay, yeah. Critique my intro.
There are several Ryan Camerons.
Okay.
There's a Ryan Cameron who is a software developer. There's a Ryan Cameron who lives in like Suwanee, Georgia, who is just like a regular white dude.
But you're the.
Exactly.
We're with the Ryan Cameron.
There you go.
Okay.
See?
Okay.
There you go, bro.
Long-time radio personality, legendary voice, the voice of Atlanta. You know, I will say, like, how is it to have? Well, let me do this. Let me read.
Oh God.
Let me.
This guy's prepared.
So, look, it says Ryan Cameron is a well-known radio personality and a voice actor. He gained prominence as a radio host at Atlanta's V103, one of the city's top urban contemporary radio stations. Cameron is highly regarded for the engaging on-air personality, wit, and charisma. He has also been involved with various philanthropic endeavors in the Atlanta community. Cameron's contributions to radio and entertainment have earned him significant following and respect within the industry. That was ChatGPT.
Nice. Nice.
That was ChatGPT.
I use that.
Yeah.
I use that in speeches now.
Yeah.
Like I'm on the board of directors at Holy Innocents Episcopal School, and people are also nervous about getting their kid into school. They don't want to laugh at anything.
Right.
And so I put it in ChatGPT. I was like, how do you make people laugh when they're in uncomfortable position? It gave me all these like dad jokes. It worked.
Yeah, it works though. It works.
Yeah,
it usually works. I don't really use it too often for interviews, but for like papers or anything, if I'm like trying to handle a dispute online or something like that, I might use, or for like an
arguing online with ChatGPT.
Well, like if I'm I just used it recently for a dispute. Somebody paid us and they wanted their money back, so I had to like, I had used
a labor issue.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, you have an Android?
No.
Have you been team Android for a minute though? Because I feel like you've always been in the green.
I mean, I these people have so much of my money.
Yeah, iPhone.
The iPhone people have so much of my money, and now with the fact that they do stuff like they took out the headphone jack, then they made the tiny little charger, and then they made the AirPods where you can't connect them to your keychain. Yeah. So half of Atlanta's walking around here with one AirPod in.
Yeah. No.
And then I know somebody who's has 13 AirPods. They got the AirPod Pros, and they got the AirPod, the Max, and then they got the AirPods they bought from the guys in the mall, which I told them not to because they said they was only $75. And I was like, you go see.
Yeah.
But I'm team iPhone, bro.
Yeah, I got the. I just recently bought the Apple Vision Pro. You know,
how you like that?
Yeah, like the.
Is that like the virtual reality?
Virtual reality, yeah.
So what do you watch on that?
You could watch Apple TV. You could actually record.
A lot of people watch porn on that.
Well, I don't do that.
You answer too quick.
Yeah. No. I mean. That's something I don't.
That's something I don't do now.
That's something I don't.
I don't want no prono.
But it is pretty cool. It's kind of scary too because you can record with it on. And this weekend I went up to North Georgia for the cabins, and I was recording.
Where'd you go?
I went to Blue Ridge.
Go to Cherry Log.
Cherry Log? Okay.
Blue Ridge is significantly good, but one thing that's different between Blue Ridge and Cherry Log, Blue Ridge smells like racism.
Now I do smell a lot of that up there.
Yeah, you just come here.
Like, what's that?
I smell racism. Now, Cherry Log, because not only do they have the cabins, but you can just go down the mountains. You got to go up that little trail, and then there's a grocery store down there.
Yeah.
And things of that nature, because nothing is worse than getting up in the mountains and like, damn.
Got to go get some cups.
We ain't got no choco.
Yeah, something basic.
But yeah, try Cherry Log, man. I'm a huge, I moved from being in the city for all of my adult life till I live in the woods now.
Right now?
Right now.
I was thinking about doing that.
I live in the woods, I live off, I tell people what exit I live off of, and then they go, oh, yeah, I know what that is. I said, no. You get off that exit, and then you go 5 miles this way, and then you go 7 miles that way. So it'll say, to Atlanta, it'll say 32 miles. And people are like, man, that's far. But 20 of it
is just woods and, like, back roads.
And even my neighbors are so far away, it's like I haven't seen but 3 people where I live now.
Really?
And it's just like, hey, and then like, oh, hey. Like they're all as startled as I am to have another neighbor because where I live downtown right off of Marietta Street in some lofts. And every night at 3 a.m., it was the Ivan Allen 400.
Oh,
don't. And I was like, man, I can't.
It's too much. I
can't take this, bro.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like the city living, but peace and quiet is underrated.
Yeah.
So you think about moving to the woods, bro?
Yeah, I'm looking to get my first like property. You know, I've been staying in apartments my whole life, but like I think
you're a lifetime renter.
Yeah, I'm a lifetime renter, but I want to be a homeowner. But I think I want to be. I think I want my first home to be in a cabin, so I could eventually turn into a rental.
You got this cabin thing for real. You got the cabin fever, literally.
Yeah, I got cabin fever.
Yeah,
I got cabin fever. I like that. Well,
why don't you just build a house with the cabin in the back of it, and then you can have all of the the necessities like you need for plumbing and you want a septic tank, and then you just go have a little cabin in the back, and then when you have your little cabin,
then I feel like I'm not getting away. Like if I just walk out of my backyard,
you gotta go to the woods, bro.
Yeah,
you gotta go to the woods.
Well, see what I do. I don't need to be anywhere. You know, I could just do that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we learned about technology since the pandemic is you can do this anywhere. Yeah, right, and especially with the and shout out to, I mean, I remember you guys in y'all's infancy. It was just like very, very in the very beginning, and to see what it's grown into. I always like to say, man, when I see people who have evolved and grown their brands into legitimate, like money-making entities, people need to recognize that, because I'm sure in the beginning, you probably was like, man, should I be doing this shit?
Yeah, no, for sure.
And then, but then when you finally get a yes, and then people, because I think GAFollowers is like one of the sites and one of the platforms that people go to for credibility. Yeah, y'all don't post a lot of bullshit,
right.
So it's not like, I don't know.
Yeah,
and I'm not knocking anybody else, because I understand it's the world of clickbait and ads and all that. But I think reputation, like for me, from like the Ryan Report, I've been doing my entertainment report for 3 decades. Yeah, and I've only done one retraction. I've never done anything, because I always fact check, because I don't know about you lied. Like when Keith Lee said to me that he was going to not come back to Atlanta because he had death threats. Yeah, I put it up on X. Now I said, Keith Lee says he's not going to come back to Atlanta because and you're a liar. He never said that. And I was like, he said it to me himself. Yeah. And it went viral, and it was like all these people. And then he put it up and said, I'm not coming back to Atlanta because people threatened my family. And I was like,
there it is.
I don't have to make up stuff.
That just came out recently.
I don't have to make up stuff. He told me this because he called in. We had a contest where people were saying, I was like, get the most famous person you know to call in to win these Usher tickets or something like that. So you're like, hey, you know Jeremy from GAFollowers, and hey, this is Jeremy from GAFollowers. I'm calling in for Ryan Cameron, and then whoever, and he was like the second most famous person. Okay, and then. But we had his number. So once we had his, I was like, hey, man, that's Keith. So we called him back and was like, hey, man, what's going on? And he was like, yo, man. And we did a whole little interview. And that was a part that, that stuck out. And we never played it, because I'm like this. Like, integrity is so important to me when it comes to, like, radio. Like, I think people are playing, journalists. They're kind of doing it for clickbait. But I didn't tell. He was like, are we on the radio? We weren't on the radio. Right. But I just took what he said. And if I could have played the clip, then that makes me clickbait. But I was like, he told me. Yeah. And then people were like, you lying.
They didn't believe you.
Yeah, but I mean,
you really talk to him.
I have no reason to lie.
Right. And you got your name on the line too when you say these things. So it's like, people just they don't understand.
They don't want to do I think it's, people want to just be easy with it. It's very easy just to say something and just hope it. I mean, what was that? When Jason Lee, when he said that the Queen had died, he was like early. I mean, she died, but he was way early before she died.
Yeah. Speaking about clickbait, how do you feel about Puff Daddy?
I feel like in news.
Have you ever met him, by the way?
Listen, let me tell you something.
Okay.
Puffy has been coming to Atlanta for decades. I remember when Justin's opened on Peachtree, which is now an Emory Clinic, which is, he's always been the consummate businessman, always been the consummate professional. But when these things started coming out, and the thing about it is, for me, is like, if somebody were to say something negative about you, all the people who you've helped and all the people who you have motivated and mentored, they would come out to support you. Yeah. And we haven't seen that.
Yeah, people aren't coming to his defense.
Like, none of the people. Yeah. Other than, one or two, but I'm saying, like, and I think, and people say, well, I guess the question should be, when do you think it went south? I think it was the lawsuit against Ciroc. I think because when he claimed racism and tried to sue them for that money, I just think that somebody somewhere, it's always like people talk about how much millions that people make, but then somebody writes that check, right? Like yesterday when the Forbes list came out, the richest people in the world is the Arnault family, right? You know what their brand is? It's Louis Vuitton and Moet Hennessy. If black people ain't responsible for that, then who is? You know what I'm saying?
That's
so
crazy.
If somebody says something against that brand, you have that kind of power. You're like, you know what? Let's teach it. Let's teach them. Let's show them what's really going on. And I think that's the case where somebody was like, okay, all right, because if you see, people started gravitating away from those white parties. You remember?
Yeah.
Like the Diddy's white party, and I never got invited to it, but that was like, if you got invited to the white party, you was in.
Yeah.
And then they started going to other stuff, and then all of a sudden it was like the Hamptons or in South Beach or whatever. And then like when the crowd and the herd starts to move away, then that's when I think people are starting to have issues.
Yeah, and then I think also people have said that his parties are crazy, and they're always that's one thing that's constant amongst all the celebrities. They're like, yeah, his parties are crazy, but they're always
I was at
like,
a party once.
asterisk.
I was at a movie party. It was a TV show, and it's a very famous producer in Atlanta, and they said to me, somebody came up and said, hey man, you need to be out here by 11:45.
Oh wow.
And I was like, what? And they was like, you need to be out of here by 11:45. I was like,
the boogeyman's coming.
What's gonna happen at 11:45? They said, well, it's not 11:45, but it's like 12.
Yeah.
Because the whole party gonna change. And I was like, so what y'all gonna do? And he's like, man, I'm just telling you. And so the next day, a girl who I knew that was there, I said, what happened at midnight? And she was like, well, everybody went to their pockets and they pulled out whatever prescription they had and they just dumped it in this big bowl.
Jeez.
And then everybody poured, and they just passed around, and then everybody took a handful of pills. And I was like, so nobody knew what they were taking. And she was like, no. So you don't know if you're taking blood pressure pills. You don't know if you're taking, schizophrenic pills. You just taking a handful. And then at that point, all bets are off.
Yeah.
And I think, for a lot of people in Hollywood, you get the money, and then you start to have all of the success and everything you wanted to try, sexually. Yeah. And I had 2 women. I had 3. I had 4. I had a whole bed full.
Are you talking about yourself?
No, I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm from Atlanta. Boy, I ain't went to Hollywood. Boy, I got 1 girl, and she's listening.
I just had to check.
I'm talking about myself. Maybe 3, but that's okay. But I think then the boredom kind of kicks in, and then the next thing you know, they go to the drugs.
Right.
And then they go to the drugs, and then something else happens, and then it just becomes out of hand.
Right. So never ending, like, just
you don't get satisfied.
Slippery slope.
It's like you see what, like, the opioid epidemic is so rampant in every community. For a lot of people, it starts off with a dental procedure. Like,
okay, yeah.
You got to get a tooth pulled or whatever. Hey, man, this is really hurting me. Hey, take these hydrocodones.
Right.
And you take that, and it's the same equivalent of euphoria as cocaine. You like, man, I ain't never felt like this. Man, I'm happy as hell. Yeah. I'm in a great mood. I want to feel like this. And then you take another one. Yeah. And you take another one. And next thing you know, you go from that. And you heard what Eric Sermon said? He said he was on Percocets for 15 years.
Jeez. That's a long time.
Long time to be happy.
Yeah. A long time to be. Can't be happy that long.
Can't be happy a long time. It's a long time.
Okay, yeah. What is your contribution to Freaknik? The new documentary just came out, and everybody loves Atlanta for its booty shaking. Were you outside during Freaknik?
I mean, my thoughts on Freaknik was there was only one show on in the morning that played rap music. That was my show.
Okay.
So
is this Hot 107.9 at times?
This is 97.5.
Oh, 97.5. Okay.
Before it became Hot 107.9. So anybody who was coming to town listened to that morning show. And so the reason that I did, and I had several meetings with the people at Hulu about the documentary. The reason that I didn't participate was because I think in this age of content, like what we're doing now, I'm doing this for you as a favor, as a friend.
And I appreciate that.
But I'm not doing it for somebody who is going to try to dupe me and tell me that it's a documentary.
Right. Okay.
Because somebody's making money off of it. Right. And so in all of my meetings, they was like, nah, man, we wanted you to sit down. And I was like, yeah, but, and when one of my friends has so much video footage, and I was in like 98% of the footage, and I was like, I can't sit down with you for nothing and help you make this story. And this person's making money, and this person's making money, and Hulu's making money, and I'm just supposed to sit down on the strength. And people's like, I can't believe you weren't in that documentary. So I want to go on the record and say, I had meetings. The plan was to do it, but I can't just do something for free and watch you sit back and make money and go, yeah, I'm in it. And I mean, shout out to everybody who was in it, because there's a lot of, tastemakers and movers and shakers in it. Yeah, I mean, everybody's in it. But when it comes to Freaknik, like, this is what Freaknik, I would do helicopter reports, traffic reports in a real helicopter. And so I'd be up and I would be reporting back to the radio station, be like, hey, the corner of Cortland and Ellis Street is bananas right now. And people would go there.
Yeah. Okay.
Instead of going away from it, it had the opposite effect.
Right.
So I was hosting Club SO, and I was in the helicopter doing traffic reports, and I had to do an appearance at the club. And I was like, man, the helicopter place is way out in Peachtree DeKalb. I'll never get back downtown. It's too much traffic, because I see. Yeah. You can't get in. So I land at the Federal Reserve Building. Okay. Over on 11th Street, right near Spondovitz. The helicopter lands. I get out of the helicopter and walk out the front door. And all the people in there like, who in the hell? And I just walk down from there down to Club SO. I mean, that's
legendary.
So what was so funny about it is I didn't even know what I was doing. And maybe like right before, like 2 or 3 years ago, I went there and I was just sitting in my car. And all of a sudden, like, I had been sitting there like 2 minutes. And like all these people came out with guns and ARs. And like, what you doing here? And I was like, I'm going to turn around. I was like, no, you can't park here. I was like, man, doing Freaknik. I landed a helicopter and walked out the front door. But here, it's a new age, man. I mean, I think, so for my Freaknik contribution, me and DJ Nabs and that era, we were everywhere. But, we have another, I was talking to like some directors and some other people. But the thing about this is that in this age of content, you can't put somebody on TV without their release. Yeah. I don't care who mama it is in that footage. Yeah. They're going to sue you. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. They're going to sue you. Yeah. And they're going to win.
They're going to win a good.
So, I think that, the trailer had everybody shook. Oh, it's coming, it's coming. Yeah. And I mean, it was a good informational piece, but I don't think it, the hype was what it was supposed to be. Because again, you can't just be putting people out there and they're going to sue you. Yeah, yeah. This is a very litigious country we live in.
Yeah, it's crazy. I haven't even seen it yet, but I haven't really heard anything about it.
Well, see, anytime you go to South by Southwest, stuff breaks out there. Right. That's what Get Out was. Yeah. That's what, any big movies, people go to those festivals like, man, this is the crazy, and then all of a sudden people are waiting for it to come out. It kind of came out of there kind of quietly, and it was like, oh, we're doing this. And shout out to Luke and JD for promoting the hell out of it. Yeah. They were everywhere, but I'm just saying, again, this is Hulu, who is owned by Disney. Right. Let's be clear. Hulu is owned by Disney. Now, if that shit had been on HBO, now we talking Freaknik.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy.
Then you go, oh.
Yeah, then it's like, whoa, it was like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. So let's go back into tell me a little history about yourself. You grew up in Bankhead, if I'm correct? Yep. And how did you... Where else did you grow up in the city? Was it just Bankhead?
No, I mean, for me, man, my mother and my daughter just interviewed her for a project for her school the other day. She's at SCAD in Savannah. And my mother was very clear that everybody that we grew up with was on public assistance. Okay, yeah. Right? So, the welfare and the food stamps, I mean, all of her other family members, that was kind of like the goal. The goal was, man, if I had this baby, then, man, I'm good. We're going to be eating. And my mother didn't want to do that. So she decided to just up and move to Cobb County. And I had changed schools. Like, people talk about their elementary school or their Atlanta public school education. Mine was, I was at Harwell, Peyton Forest, Collier Heights, because I was just bouncing around as she bounced around. And then one day she was like, we moving to Smyrna. And we started off there at East Cobb Middle School, and then went to Nash, and then graduated from Campbell. And it was the first time in my life that I ever seen a white person that wasn't on television. So imagine being as black as you can be, in the blackest part, Bankhead's on, and just being black, and then all of a sudden you in the middle of white folk, and everybody looking at you, and it just, it was a game changer for me because I was like, okay, and I was like 5'3" in the 8th grade. I mean, I'm 6'1.5" now, but in the 8th grade was glad, bruh. I mean, back then I was getting picked on, and so it was like either fight my way out of here, get jumped on, or be funny.
Right.
So I became like the way to keep from getting bullied was to be funny.
Right.
Because I'm in a situation where I can't win because I'm the only, in my senior class, there were 14 black people.
Oh, wow.
And there was over 300 people in the senior class. And we all sat at the same table for lunch.
Wow.
But because of my ability to maneuver that space, I was the first black senior class president in the history of Campbell High School. I don't think they had another one until like 2005. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like being able to navigate those spaces and realize that, the gift of gab is something that you don't take lightly. And when you have the ability to communicate, you do that. I mean, even now, listening to like the radio and stuff like this, my agent told me one time, he said, Ryan, you come across as racially ambiguous. Meaning like, I don't know what he is. Is he white? Is he black? Yeah. And so for that has bode me well because being the first African-American announcer to have both the Falcons and the Hawks simultaneously. Yeah,
it's crazy.
That was a big deal. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's always been the ability to communicate enthusiasm in an articulate way.
Right.
And so that's kind of been my fame and fortune to kind of just put my stamp on things. But it all started off on Bankhead because my grandfather was a chauvinist, like the most macho dude in life, right? And so he would have classical music playing, and he'd get the Sunday paper and just throw it on the table and be like, yeah, come back in the hour and I'm going to ask you some questions about this. And I had to go and learn stuff and then regurgitate it. So that's why my ability to read copy came from him, like being able to tell a story. Like people say, oh, you're a great storyteller. It's because I was able to read copy because he was like, what's going on with sports and what's going on with this? And so I had a speech impediment as a kid, right? So my W's and my R's were, I was whining or water. And so at Collier Heights, they had this program that was basically like hooked on phonics. And so what they did was they took like 8 of us to Clark Atlanta University. And they did basically like a program of like, hey, this is what they sound like now. And then 6 weeks later, here's what they sound like now. And they played it on the radio. And I was sitting in my grandfather's living room. And the first time I heard myself with a pair of headphones on.
Old school.
And I heard my voice. I was like, man, this is what I want to do. I knew that was 4th grade.
Cool. Yeah. Okay.
So I've been wanting to do this because, I mean, as a child growing up, I'm an only child.
Yeah.
So you got brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I got a lot of them.
Yeah. How many?
6.
Yeah, that wouldn't work for me. Yeah. But I have like, by myself, my imagination was the key to my success because I had like imaginary friends.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? We playing cards upstairs and
yeah,
so like, somebody cheating.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I had one of those carpets that was like a town, but you could like drive a hot box on it.
How'd that work out?
Hot Wheels.
Hot box, that's different.
I said Hot Wheels.
I said hot box.
I said hot box.
Hot box is when you smoking, So you tell on yourself. I was wondering why your eyes are so red. Jared's in here high as a mug, y'all. Welcome to Forge of Jollowers.
Well, look, I read that you worked at Six Flags at one point.
7 years.
Yeah.
7 seasons.
What was your favorite ride there?
Stealing.
You was stealing from Six
Flags? Boy, I got my first car from stealing.
For real? Okay.
Bro,
I like that. I like that about you, man.
Let me tell you something. I was one of the best thieves of all times.
Okay, let's get into it.
Okay, so listen.
Let's get into this.
I'm blowing my Six Flags endorsement right now, but it was blown many years ago because they was like, it's kind of sketchy.
Right.
We were the original Ocean's 11.
Okay, nice.
Okay, so they would come and do like concerts outside, and we would sell T-shirts, but we'd have a money till. Right. And that was like a blue bag that had 3 slots in it. And you would take the money and you give the change out. And then you would, give them the T-shirt. You have all these T-shirts. And the barge came. Elder Barge. And I mean, they was, oh my God, man. They was, people was everywhere. Oh, yeah. We sold so many T-shirts, but we put, like, we all planned, okay, what we going to do, man? We're going to cut a little small hole in the bottom of the bag. And then while we're holding the bag, we're gonna fold the money up and just stick it through the hole.
Oh, that's fire.
Right? And then
that's
stick
a
it through
good
the
one.
hole. And then, because at the end of the night, okay, dump your money. And we would turn the bag upside down and everything would come out, but we've already made a little hole, so it's not gonna fall back in.
Nice.
So we all met later on, man. We had so much money, bro.
I love a good stealing story.
And I bought my first car with it. And then I went to work like the next day, and they were like, hey, we need you to come with us. And I was like, where? And I said, just, and they put us in a car, and they made us go and take a polygraph test.
For Six Flags?
Oh, bro, I told you we stole a lot of money.
Okay.
It just didn't come up right.
Yeah.
And so, they got the polygraph, and they got the finger thing on, and the breathing thing, and they asked them, have you ever, and did you ever? And I was just like, no. And I passed the polygraph test.
Wow.
I think I was the only one out of 4 of us that passed the polygraph test. I mean, and I went back, and they was like, you working shift today? I was like, nope. I quit. I clocked out. I was like, nah, bro. I'm out of here. I'm not. If I pass the polygraph test, they don't need it. The jig is up, bro. So, that was 7 seasons, man. That's when when you start like taking money, it's time for you to go.
Yeah, it's time to go. I got a story like that. I used to work at a place called Wet Seal, which was like a girl's
I've heard that.
clothing store. And what I would do, my mom, sorry, Mom, this is probably your first time hearing this. But what I would do is, as people would come to the register, I was working the register, I would be like, hey, your total will ring up to like 120. But
right.
I start whispering. I get low. I'll be like, hey, but you could go around to the ATM. If you got $80 worth of cash, you give me that, and I'll take off these sensors. So, yeah. So I used to have a little jug.
How'd you get caught?
Well, so.
Because you always get caught.
You always get caught. I left a sensor on one of the piece of clothes. And somebody came back and was like, there was a light-skinned guy that said, yeah. And then the boss called me, but everybody was doing it at the job, but they called me and was like, Jeremy, you better not be stealing. I was like, I wasn't stealing, but I knew it was like my time was coming.
Jeremy, you better not be stealing. I'm not stealing.
Yeah. The chickens came to roost. So your favorite ride? Did you really have a favorite ride? Because mine's the Lanaga Mine Train.
Well, I mean, if you know Six Flags, this is before it became what it is now, which is kind of like, I don't know, Six Flags means all the gangs that are there. Six gangs.
They shooting at Six Flags now.
I mean, back then, you started off on the Lanaga, and then you would go to Mindbender.
Yeah.
But I love the wooden roller coaster.
Georgia Cyclone?
No, you got to go really old. You got to go Scream Machine.
Scream Machine. Oh, okay.
And so on employee nights, they would, after the shift, they would open the Scream Machine from 12 to 2 with unlimited rides.
Oh, man.
And one night we rode it like 22 times in a row.
There you go.
Like, that's how much I love wooden roller coasters. So that was the best part of it. And then I played on the softball team. I mean, for me, like, Six Flags was the ultimate courting experience because it was the finest girls in Atlanta, man. Yeah. And they had on little Six Flags uniforms, and the ones who worked in games had their little skirts on. Bro, I mean, boy, that was, man.
Taking you back, huh?
Boy, that was a look.
That was a look.
And then I was the break relief guy. So I would, I would work from swing shift, which would be from 12 to 8. So I only worked the place for 1 hour, so I never got a chance to get bored. So I was a guy, I know how to make them, those, they used to have those paper flowers, big flowers, you make them on a stick, and I would be sitting out there, and the girl's like, oh, man, you know how to make those flowers? Like, hey, man, I can make these flowers. Make you one, Just give me some construction paper. So, I mean, I don't have any other than, the polygraph part. It was a good memory for me.
Nice. Now, you ended up going to West Georgia. And did you start doing radio there?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a show, and shout out to my man, DJ Slash. It was called the Kaleidoscope Show. And we were on from midnight to 2 a.m. on like a Friday. It was the only time that we could play like any type of hip hop music. And so, he was actually mixing on belt-driven turntables. Like, I don't know how he did it.
Belt-driven turntable.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you couldn't adjust the speed. It was just on, and he had to actually do it physically to get it, to match up. And we would be on, but I was also on the radio station, so I had to work a regular shift before the Kaleidoscope Show came on. So it was 10 till 2. So from 10 until 12, I had to play all the contemporary or all the alternative stuff. So that's why I know about stuff like the B-52s and Love Tractor and Depeche Mode and, you know, the Red Hot Chili Peppers and all those groups, because we had to play all those songs before I got to the rap music. So that was my first entry into radio, like doing I actually went to West Georgia because they had a radio station. That's why I went there.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah. And then you were doing stand-up for a little bit too.
Yeah. That's kind of how I got discovered.
Yeah. I was reading that there was a guy named Mike
Roberts.
Yeah, Mike Roberts
and Carol Blackman.
Yeah.
I was working at the Blockbuster Video. I had bombed out of West Georgia College. I mean, bombed. Like it wasn't no more bombing than that.
Yeah.
And my grandmother was like, "How you go somewhere and make 3 Fs?" And I was like, it took a little effort.
Yeah,
it
wasn't that
it
easy.
wasn't easy. and so when I came home, I worked at Blockbuster Video, and Blockbuster Video was at 5495 Old National Highway, and across the street was a place called Frozen Paradise, which was kind of like an offshoot of Fat Tuesdays with the whole daiquiris and all those drinks and stuff. So I would work my shift at Blockbuster, in which I worked 72 hours a week, and then I would take my lunch break at 11 o'clock at night, and then go across to Fat Tuesdays and compete in the amateur contest.
Okay.
And so that was what I did. And so they had the finals one Labor Day weekend, and I went over, and the guy who won, he did jokes from the Apollo from the night before, and everybody, because he did the whole set, everybody killed.
Right.
And so I came in like second, and Mike and Carol were like, "Hey, what do you want to do?" I said, I always want to be on the radio. I'm on the radio in college. I was. And then they were like, "Come down here and do an internship." Well, I asked for an internship. And the funny thing about it, like, Bobby Brown is so instrumental in my success that no matter what happens with Bobby Brown, I will never say anything bad about it, because he was a celebrity judge that night. And he was hot. And he was like, "Man, whatever you want to do, man, this dude is funny as hell, man. Let him do it."
Yeah.
And what was funny is, like, I don't know what was going on with Bobby, but like many years later, like almost like 2 years ago, they gave him their Walk of Fame star down in front of the Benz, and I got all the members of New Edition up, and I was like, "Man, this guy is the reason that I'm on the radio right now." And I told the story, and I was like, "Oh!"
Yeah.
And then Bobby Brown was like, I don't remember.
He was too lit.
And so now on the radio, whenever there's a story that somebody tells that I don't remember, I go, "Bobby Brown."
It was the Bobby Brown.
It's a Bobby Brown. Like, I mean, doing shows for so many years, you're gonna forget some of the stuff. Like, I've done more stuff and forgotten it, and people remind me. I'm like, I did that. Yeah. And so it's kind of like that. But yeah, that's how it all got started, man.
Yeah, I have that happen to me a little bit now. I mean, because I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm a legend in the city or nothing, but like I know
you're very well known, man.
I've been outside.
You take the worst pictures ever, man. Let me tell y'all something, man. Is this on tape?
Yeah, it's on
Listen,
tape.
We were at the Falcons pep rally. I was standing next to number 8,
Kyle Pitts.
And I think it was Grady Jarrett.
It was Grady Jarrett there, yeah.
And I asked your ass to take a picture.
Yeah, I did.
I was like, "Man, take this picture." She's like, "Oh, I got it." I don't know who was in that damn picture.
I did that with him too.
It looked like Arthur Blank.
Well, Andre 3000, yeah.
Oh, you messed up Andre?
Yeah, I made that. It was like the rarest moment you get to.
Andre had like 2 flutes.
Yeah. So yeah, do you remember any of your stand-up bits from back then? Like, not just to repeat them.
I used to do a bit saying that about this racism on the highway. Mm-hmm. I said, you don't know how racist the highway is until you run out of gas as a black person.
Okay, yeah.
And that's just really, really racist if you're a black man run out of gas, because the cars will come by you and they'll be talking to you as they drive by.
Okay,
they'll be like, no.
That's pretty good.
Then if I was in a comedy club where I didn't have to, worry about somebody.
Nigga. Yeah.
So yeah, that was like a bit, man.
Yeah, that was pretty good, man.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, Rondell does comedy. All right, so how did you initially get involved with V103? Is that through?
Yeah, that was the internship.
The internship.
Yeah, that was 1991. And again, my thing was I was always there when somebody else messed up.
Yeah.
That's been kind of like, and they always talk about if you don't have to, if you're ready, you don't have to stay ready. You get ready. Like for me, it's always been somebody screwed up, and I was always available.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have an internship until 6 o'clock at night, but I'd be at the radio station like at noon because I just love the radio that much. Like I even tell people today, I don't not on the radio. I am the radio. Like I live. Like I'm having more fun now than I've ever had in my life.
Really?
Because I mean, it's what I enjoy. But the fact that if you listen to anybody on the radio and the show goes off and you ain't learned nothing, then you just wasted 4 hours of your day. And we don't have that kind of time to just be wasting. So I try to make sure I find stuff and talk about stuff. And I know things that, you know, you want to go into a room, and I'm reading this book. It talks about how to talk to anybody, right? And they say, okay, if I don't know your producer here, what I'll do is I will start asking questions. And I'll ask more questions, and then we'll make a connection. Maybe eventually we start talking about comedy, and I realize he wants to do comedy, and then you go in that direction, right? So ask the questions, make the connection, and then go in that direction. And then that way, no matter what room you're in, black, white, or indifferent, you can make that a relationship, and you might find out that you can have something in common that might lead to something in a bigger way, as opposed to, oh, man, he a young cat, man. I ain't saying nothing to him. You know, so I think in this industry, what I've learned the most is, man, you cannot judge a book by its cover, and you just got to keep asking questions. And you might be surprised at what you have in common with people.
What about so like, all right, so you started in 1991, V103, and then when did you stop? I'm just trying to get the timeline.
I was at 91 to 95. I was at V, and then that's when Greg replaced me, and I went to WKYS in Washington, D.C.
That's. I know a lot about WKYS.
Say what?
I know a lot about WKYS.
Yeah, I mean, we were up
back
there.
Was it maybe Easy Street?
Yeah,
Easy Street.
Okay,
Angie
so
Ange.
it was. This is a lineup. It was me, Conan, the Barbarian. I think he got sued for that. He just called himself Conan now. Easy Street, and then the native one, Eno.
Okay.
He was a Native American, and his call line was like, Eno, the native one. And then he go, hey, y'all. And girls is, that was a hook.
Okay. I never knew you worked at WKYS.
Yeah, I was the first morning show host after she bought it.
Okay, cool.
So I go there from 95 till they started 97.5 in July 5th of 1995. The very first song played was Biggie's One More Chance. A lot of people said it was Goody Mob, but it was not. It was Biggie One More Chance. And they said, do you want to stay here or do you want to go back to Atlanta? And I was like, go back to Atlanta and host a hip-hop morning show? Are you crazy? Yeah. And then the Olympics were coming.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, it was easy. It was an easy move. So, I went. Then that's when I came back.
Okay, cool. So then you come back in 96, 95, 96, and then stay until 2000.
What I mean,
did you leave and come back?
Yeah, they call me the boomerang of radio.
Yeah.
They were like, Ryan Cameron gonna leave, but he gonna come back. Yeah, when I left, because they came back and they offered me the same position, but again, it was just about they wanted me to make the same amount of money, and I don't think they knew that I was gonna go up there and learn how to do morning radio because DC is different, man. I mean, it's politics. It's government. And everybody up there has a good job. Yeah, you know they making cake up there. So
for sure. I
came back as a seasoned veteran. If they what they should have did, in radio you have a non-compete where you can't talk to on other radio stations within a 50-mile radius of, and then they should just let me go because I want to know what I was doing. Try to do mornings, but I went up there and learned how to do mornings, and I came back and was just kicking butt.
A stronger person.
Yeah, I was ready then.
Yeah. So everybody knows. Pretty much most people know you from V103 in that time span that you. Would you say that, or is that in my?
I mean, I'll be
like the morning show like Frank's. I mean, not Frank's. The
morning show at 97.5 is what put us on the map.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, V103 was a stepping stone, but again, remember now at V103 we only played rap music at night.
Yeah, you're right.
One day a week.
Yeah, that's
so.
True.
If I'm the only radio personality playing music one day a week, everybody is listening for that music. Like, and you know about shares. I had a 40 share, bro. A 40. That's pretty good. Right now, if you get a 6, you get paid. I had a 40,
that's
meaning
crazy.
Like 40% of the whole entire of Atlanta was listening to my. I was God.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You know what I mean? Because remember. My shift, a lot of people don't know this. You know what my shift was? What? 6 to 9. 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
That ain't even a whole full work week. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right.
That's 18 hours a week.
Yeah.
And when I'm working there, the only people who had my same hours were like waitresses and strippers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because I would get off and go to Magic City or whatever, and then who I know could sleep in?
Yeah.
A waitress or, you know what I'm saying? So
bartender or something.
Yeah, it had to be somebody in the industry. So that was, and then once the Fresh Party, and Darren Fears, who doesn't get a lot of his credit, was doing the Fresh Party. Once I started doing that with DJ Tommy Fix and that, I mean, rap was so segregated and so pigeonholed. They had to. Remember the song called Double Dutch Bus? Okay, it was like basically pig Latin, but they acted like that was like the worst thing in the world. And if you Google that now, you be like, they didn't want to play this. It was nothing.
It was
you know
childish.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it was like when Sweet Sable had a song called Old Time's Sake. And the hook was smoking a blunt and sipping on a Heineken. They bleeped those words out. Like it was so compared to what you hear now. It's like
now they let that fly.
Booty Hole Brown.
Booty Hole Brown.
So I mean, for that time period, we were the only thing in town.
Yeah.
And so when Hot came along, people lost their minds. So I believe Hot 107.9, Hot 97.5. I mean, we had a programming guy who said that he was going to change the radio station to country instead of flipping it to 107.9 after they had promised me they was going to flip it. And I walked out of the radio station, and I mean it's public record. Like people came down, they were picketing. You know, because I mean I just walked out because of like you promised me one thing,
right?
And because the only thing that's really worse than not hearing the music you want to hear is to not be able to hear it. So, you know, there's some place you go around and the station just cut out. You're like, damn, you know?
Yeah.
And that was how it was with 97.5. So once we flipped to 107.9, the rest is history. I was talking to somebody about Lakewood, and they were talking about Lakewood, which is what, you know, the first birthday bash was at the Variety Playhouse over in Little 5 Points.
Oh, that's
the
smaller.
tiny. I mean, you know, we had Biggie and Bad Boy, and that was all over there.
Oh, wow.
But now there's only, and then it went to Lakewood Amphitheater where people were climbing over the wall because they, you know, you didn't think black people scared of heights. They was climbing over that wall because the tickets were sold out. Yeah. But it's to the point now where you look at, and this is something y'all should probably address, man. Lakewood only has 5 concerts this year.
Really? Why? What's going on?
Because it's raggedy.
Yeah. They need to.
You know, they got Ameris Bank Amphitheater. They got Mabel House.
Yeah.
And you know, and some people are saying it doesn't make any sense why a venue like that is just gonna go. Like, it might be weeds growing on that joint in like 2 years from now,
That's
man.
Crazy.
But I mean, but back then, Lakewood Amphitheater with I think 11,000 lawn seats and 7,000 cover seats.
Can't beat
it. That was it, bro.
What were some of your favorite times from V103? Like memorable moments. And is your relationship with V103 good, or is it like kind of in the middle? Like how do you?
I don't know if it's. I mean, I think what is Bill Gates' wife, Melinda Gates? They asked her about her and Bill Gates' relationship, and she had the perfect answer. And I think it's the same that I can say about V103. We're friendly, but we're not friends.
Got you.
That makes sense?
Yeah, no. Perfect
I mean,
sense.
But I mean, it's not because of anything bad blood. It was just like the micromanaging of the radio station and the management. You got to believe that people know what they're doing if they've been successful at it. And the opportunity to do it with Radio One, the black company, is something, you know, I mean, it took me a long time to get this syndication. And, you know, I felt like if I had, I mean, look at what Incognito was doing. I feel like I was an Incognito back in the day. You know what I'm saying? And what he's doing around the world and around the country is very admirable. But that's kind of how I felt my career was. But they didn't ever want to do that. They didn't ever want to do it. Like, now think about it. At one time, these are all people who were, you know, very much, you had Frank Ski in the morning, Greg Street at night, and me in the afternoons. Those are 3 Hall of Fame broadcasters.
Heavy hitters. So
this is like the Yankees. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for real.
So if you would have syndicated all those people and still remain local, we would still be on the squad today. Yeah. But you got to see the vision, and they didn't ever see that. And I mean, you know, shout out to them for not seeing it, because we all went on to have very successful careers. Greg is still a major entity there, still to this day.
Yeah.
But at one time, all those people worked at the same radio station.
Big three. That was a big three.
That was
Yeah.
really
the big three. Now, do you think radio has? I mean, obviously, radio has changed with streaming and stuff like that. But has that changed on the on-air side too?
I feel like this: if something happened in this podcast studio, last night we had severe weather. If a tornado came down here right now, if it was just last night, and it just ripped everything outside the shreds.
Yeah.
By the time the TV cameras got here, I have already called a radio station and done it live.
Right.
That's why that type of radio will never go away, because it's the live. You know, I remember one time a plane crashed in Atlanta, and I was on the radio, and I said, "Oh, that's right down the street." And I got there before the police. The police got there.
Yeah.
And it was not good. And, you know, before they even put up the crime tape, but I was like, and I was calling back doing reports to the radio station.
Oh, okay.
Because it's instant. And that's the thing about podcasting and any type of streaming, the ability to do something live. Like, you're going to have to edit this and decide what you want to use.
Yeah, it takes a time.
But if it was live, like on my show, I just do live radio, and I think that's why radio is not going to ever go anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's why we benefit on Georgia Followers side from the social media standpoint, because it's like people see things, they take a picture of it, and then
I done sent y'all some stuff.
Yeah.
Every time I see something on fire, I send it to y'all.
Yeah, and it's before the news talks about it, because it's people there right in the moment. So I can understand that.
Let me ask you something. How do you see? Now I'm interviewing him. How do you feel about people who have come in and kind of like? You guys are like the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? You're like the OGs. How do you feel about the ATL Uncensors and the ATL Scoops?
The ATL Scoops, the Butter ATL, those pages. I have always been an embracer of those pages, because there was, for so long, a lot of people will they criticize me for this, but I've always embraced them, because I've always wanted to see another way to do it because I've always was GAFollowers was the only brand that was doing that. So I kind of embraced it, but I do think every page has a different style.
People were mad at you for doing that?
Yeah, back then.
What they want you to do?
They just look at them as competition, and
I mean, they are.
Yeah, but I don't really view it as competition, because a lot of what we're talking about is just Instagram. We have a large Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, email, website.
Have you lost revenue?
No.
Then your point is valid.
Yeah. We
like I tell my kids this, and I say to people that are in my space, if it doesn't affect your relationship or your family, there's no need to worry about it.
Yeah, things actually got better for me since those pages came out. So, but yeah, I do think there's a different style from each page. Like, I think ATL Scoop and ATL Sister is more like they'll post more about crime, police work, that type of stuff. But I use Georgia Followers and try to be a little more lighthearted, funny.
I think it's more credible.
Yeah.
I keep reflecting back to credibility. I mean, I just think, like, if I see something on Georgia Followers, then I don't have to fact check it. I know that it's legit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because again, because I know you, right? Here's the thing that I think people need to realize. If you know somebody that's behind the brand and they're a snake, their brand is snake.
Their brand snaky.
Their brand is snake.
Yeah.
I don't care what. Snakes and snakes do not get along unless they the same brand. You know what I'm saying? So if you got somebody that they post and they do stuff, and then you be like, man, I don't really mess with them like that.
Yeah.
They snakes.
Yeah, and that's why I've been trying to keep a great relationship with everybody over the years, and just try to do right by everything that I do. So yeah, well, I appreciate you following and noticing.
Yeah, man, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I consider myself to be like, people think that I'm everywhere, but I'm just very strategic in what I do. Like, when y'all hit me up, I've turned down more stuff than I've said yes to, because it has to be something where I feel like I'm going to be able to express my point, get my point across. And people going to ask me real questions, and I can say, because, I mean, being in 2 Hall of Fames is not something to sneeze at.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
legendary.
Because I think that people need to understand, it's a lot of people who are not in the Hall of Fame because somebody has to vote on you. I don't care what your body of work says. When they say, here are the ballots, and here are the nominees. Somebody has to check that box.
Yeah.
And if they don't check that, it's a lot of people that's here that they ain't in nothing.
Yeah, no, you got a good point there.
You know, if people believe in what you've done and brought to the culture and to the craft, then you'll get the rings.
For sure. Yeah, man. A few more questions before we close out. I want to ask you about the Hawks too. Like, I know you were a long-term
20 years.
Yeah, PA announcer. Was it PA announcer?
Yeah, PA announcer. Well, I started off in I was a guy who was in the stands like, who want to wear a T-shirt? And I was doing the on-court stuff. So I started off doing that, and then the PA announcer, like every year, the NBA does a survey where they talk about who is who they have a score. Like, okay, the mascot score from 1 to 10. Or the cheerleaders from 1 to 10. And they said PA announcer, and the NBA guy was like, what PA announcer? And so they actually like said, okay, we got to replace this person. And what was funny was my audition, I didn't get a chance to sit in the tape. It was an actual game.
Oh, okay.
So imagine going to, we played Orlando in an exhibition game in Florida. And I remember the guy who hired me said, I wanted to see if he was going to really be cut out for this. Because I didn't want you to fly on a team plane. I wanted you to ride the bus down with everybody else.
Dang.
And I did.
Yeah, but you got to do what you got to do.
And, you know, it came out well. And, you know, we worked there for 20 years. But I think, you know, when and you look at this, and somebody had to explain this to me the other day, maybe about a year ago. They said, if you look at all the sports teams now, it's a very strict concentration. It's the players and the cheerleaders. Not too much you hear about.
Yeah,
the players and the cheerleaders. If you go to the programs, if you go to the apps, it'll be like the players, the community involvement, and you know the mascot and the cheerleaders. For the run that I had like 8 Ryan Cameron nights.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. I had all kinds of things, and I think once they decided, you know, I mean, it was one year we won like 7 games. You know,
the Hawks had a hard like Josh Childress, like that era.
I mean, and all my catchphrases like. I mean, we had a guy on our team named Akizi, and I would say, too easy for Akizi. And then once the Zaza Pachulia era came on, and then I became more popular and all that, I just think that at a time where you're going to separate yourself and just say, this is basketball and this is not basketball, regardless of, you know, because I'm still in the NBA 2K legacy games.
Yeah, 4-3.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And, I mean, but I felt like, at that time, and they said it was about the radio stations, but I just feel like they kind of wanted to move away from the person. I mean, because I was a big personality in that arena.
Yeah, no,
you know?
for sure.
So, you know, it is what it is. I still have my season tickets. I go there. I don't think they're ready to put me up on the screen yet.
Yeah,
I mean, they haven't put me up on the screen, but I'm always gonna. I mean, see that it's a difference between being a fan and being a fanatic. Like all those calls and all those things and the things I would say on the microphone is because I really love it. Was the best seat. It's the best seat in the arena.
Best seat in the house.
You know what I'm saying? You're right there at half court. You're seeing everything. And so, you know, to go from that to being a fan in the stands is a different experience. But I really do get to enjoy the game because you got a lot of things going on. You got to watch the players. You got to interact with the crowd. You got to call the fouls. You got to do all that. It's a very, very tough job compared to the Falcons, where, you know, like Falcons is so ego because at the Hawks game, you got the somebody else yelling and you got the timeout and you got all this. But at the Falcons, it's just me.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, you know, I'm just sitting there and now, you know, 1st and 10. For the 25-yard line,
right.
You know.
You do the Falcons right now?
I've been doing the.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
What kind of research is this? Yeah, fool.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I just said I was doing the Falcons and the Hawks at the same time.
Yeah, I did hear you say that. I didn't know if that was a new thing.
Yeah,
or like,
no, I've been there for this is.
I knew you did the Hawks for.
This is year 7.
Okay,
for the Falcons. So. And that's because we've had 6 losing seasons. That's probably why you. Guess you ain't counting no games, huh, Jay? Boy, it be your own people.
I'm there now.
Whatever. But you know, I mean, like saying stuff like to the players and being able to be basically like the only voice you hear in the stadium. It's like even when I drive up Northside Drive now and I see that stadium, it's still like just so awesome.
Yeah, it is.
And then they built that hotel. Have you been to the hotel they built next door?
I'm actually going next week. They're giving me a room.
You ain't ready, man. They said it's gonna be 15 of those by the time the World Cup gets here.
15 what?
Of those type hotels.
Here?
Yes.
Oh wow.
like they are getting prepared for everything that they didn't do for the Olympics because they were trying to build stadiums and stuff like that. It's gonna be hotels. Like the world is coming. So the way they got the Gulch situated now, the only thing they gotta do is drop that casino in there, and it's over. It's over. Man.
I don't need that.
No, but it's gonna happen. It may not happen.
I don't need.
It may not happen in this administration. Is that your vice?
That's my vice.
Yeah,
gambling.
Bad.
Bad.
Bruno Mars.
Not Bruno Mars. Not Bruno Mars. But yeah.
What you be playing?
Everything. Anything I could gamble on.
Like
I gamble on video games. Back in the day, I used to shoot dice. In high school, I was known for like shooting dice and playing Tonk for money.
Yeah.
And then now I go to the casino, sports betting, just anything I could put my money on.
Do you win?
Sometimes I do. I've had some great winnings, and
I knew a guy. He's the luckiest man I've ever known. He's a neurosurgeon, and we went to Vegas one time, and I had remember AirTran?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I miss AirTran.
So AirTran, when we had the endorsement when I had an endorsement with AirTran, they paid us no money. They didn't give us no money.
Free flights
for anybody.
Yeah,
for anybody. So when my ex-wife turned 40, I flew 23 people to Miami in first class.
Wow.
I mean, I don't care what she say. Still the best birthday part of my life. I don't give a damn what she say. I mean, a surprise party too. Yeah. Come on, man. Yeah, but we flew them to Las Vegas. There was 7 of us, and because I had the flights, and we stayed at the hotel, and he won $70,000 playing blackjack.
Oh yeah.
And so they got a casino, the roulette wheel with a giant roulette wheel. Mm-hmm. This man was so lucky. He put the money down and walk away, and they would hit, and I would just get the money.
Oh, he was just
he was just. I mean, there's some people that are lucky, and then there's this guy.
Yeah.
And we actually flew back private.
Oh wow! So he
gave the pilot like $12,000, and they flew us back to Atlanta.
Sheesh.
I mean, this is before Uber.
Yeah.
So we were just like, all right, so how we all gonna get home? But hey, man, if that's a vice,
I'm trying to shake it, man.
The easiest way to do when I go to Vegas, I put the money in the safe, and then I had the money in the wallet, and I go, I'm not going back. And then I got in an argument at the Cherokee Casino in Tampa because I tried to color in some chips, and they was mad because I was like,
you brought the money back?
Yeah, I was like, no. I was like, hey, man, can I get some black chips? And it was like, are you ready to leave? And I was like, no.
Yeah, they do that.
And I was like, they was like, why? I'm like, because I know if I get black chips, because, you see those chips. Yeah. You're not going to cash those in.
Yeah.
So they want to keep the red chips and the green. You're just going to keep re-upping. Next thing you know, they get all their money back. I mean, that's why, the official, bird of Vegas is the crane.
Yeah.
Because they always building something. You know what I'm saying? Because it's based on you losing.
Yeah.
So you got to have a system, man. You just can't go in there and just be having a pocket full of Georgia followers money. Here's the ad money for this week. Bet it all.
It's not true, guys. I don't do that. All right, so how do you one, I wanted to quickly touch on like your health too, because I know you had
I had sepsis.
You went into septic shock.
Which is like, septic shock is like the most extreme case is when your body starts to attack its own organs. And so with that, unlike other things where it gets worse day by day, sepsis, it gets worse hour by hour.
Okay.
And so when I presented to St. Joseph Hospital, I thought I had COVID, but I was in septic shock, and basically, man, was like out on my feet for like 2 weeks. I had to learn how to walk again. I lost like 50 pounds.
Wow.
And it was a real scary time for my family because they didn't know what was going on. But for me, the thing about it is I didn't know what was going on. And it's funny because we just had the Easter weekend. I went in like the Friday before Easter, and when I came out and came back up, and they were like, I was like, hey, I got to get home, man. This, I'm gonna miss Easter. And they was like, you slept through Easter, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
But the recovery is always longer than the event. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I think the main thing that I try to tell people about sepsis is like, it's one of those things where if you feel like, and this is honestly the God's truth, when I started seeing the research on it, if you feel like you're dying, like, man, I feel like I'm dying, that's probably true. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a blood infection. So it was attacking, your kidneys. And I remember one year getting an award for the Father of the Year from the American Kidney Association. They say, hey, man, I want to give you this award, and, you know, you're the Father of the Year. And I was like, okay, I'll come. And I went and I accepted the award. And then when I got sepsis, my kidneys failed. And so I had to go on dialysis, right? And so when I was sitting up in there in the dialysis center, and you see people that come there 3 times a week to live. Yeah. Like if they don't get their blood clean, they're going to die. And so it gave me a whole new perspective on, you know, I went and got the award, but I didn't realize how important the American Kidney Foundation was. And so to clean your blood, they have to put a port in your chest, and it basically takes the blood out and circulates it and puts it back in, right? And so when I told my nephrologist, which is a kidney doctor, she was like, oh, we're going to see how it goes. I was like, hey, listen, this is not going, my kidneys going, I worked out every day. My kidneys aren't going to fail me. And she was like, we'll see. And they came back, and I remember I think people need to remember this part. I was sick. The whole world had shut down. So it was COVID. It was March, February, April.
Like right then.
I was in the hospital in April, so wasn't nobody doing nothing. It was just me and the nurses. Yeah. So wasn't nobody there to hold my hand or do nothing. So that was to me. It wasn't tough. It lets me know that, faith is stronger than anything, because I couldn't get no stronger than that, because I had nobody there. I mean, I was too weak to even pick up the iPhone. That's how much strength I had lost. But when I went into the medical facility, and the doctor said, I'm not supposed to do this. And he's like, he took his mask down. He said, he was talking about my port for that. I said, because I was going to have it taken out. He said, we don't take these out. He said, this is the kind of thing that once you put it in, it's in there forever. And so that let me know, yo, man, like this is something different. Yeah. It's for real. And so I say to people, man, nothing is promised. But if you're starting to have these issues, and you got to listen to your body, and for me, it was a simple procedure. I think 1 in every 3 cases of sepsis happens in the hospital. So you going in for something regular.
Yeah, then it'll happen.
And then all of a sudden you get this infection, and if you don't notice it, it's very quiet and it creeps up on you. So I was doing Hawks games with sepsis.
That's crazy.
Because I got sepsis in, late February. I didn't go to the hospital until April.
Wow. So you was feeling it for a whole month.
I'm feeling it, but I'm like, yo, I'm charging through, and I got videotapes, and I'm looking at them, man, how in the hell did I pull this off? Right. Because I was just so used to going. And then, but luckily, man, we're on the other side of it, and we're blessed and glad to be here with you.
Yeah, man. I'm happy that you're in good health now, or better health now, and that you are still with us. We need you for the city of Atlanta, man.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Stop the gambling. Everything you say, and stop the gambling. Okay, why you need me? Can you stop gambling? Cause you don't gamble with your health.
Yeah. That's a good one. Don't gamble with your health. Do you have anything you want to promote?
Father-daughter dance.
Father-daughter dance. You got a pizza joint? Pizza?
Yeah. Well, I gotta go with the dance first, because that's the big ticket item. Okay. June 16th at the Delta Flight Museum. Go to RyanCameronFoundation.org, or if you go to Eventbrite and just type in Ryan Cameron Sneaker Ball, it'll pop up. It's a daddy-daughter dance. This is year 21. My daughter was 4. She'll be 26 in this next one. It's a daddy-daughter prom, and it's a sneaker ball, and it's been incredible. It is a life changer. If you have a daughter, if she's a baby or she's in her 40s and 50s, man, come on out and see us. And the other part of that is that it's always on Father's Day, and nobody ever gives us anything on Father's Day. So it ain't like you got somebody to, and if you got to trick your dad and tell him you're going to Red Lobster, and you're like, ain't no Red Lobster by Delta. Yes, it is. And then you go on in there and be in there with us. The other part is, Doughboy just celebrated this 1-year anniversary at the Gallery South DeKalb Mall. Okay. And, come out there, and if you're afraid of the mall, you're afraid of black people, there's Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub. I don't understand, what it is. Because South DeKalb Mall, when it was originally open, it was segregated.
Oh, really?
There were no black people allowed in the mall. And so now to go from we just wanted to go in to now we won't go in is kind of is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So come on out there and see us, man.
Support the people, man.
Support the people, man. It's more to life than Lennox and Phipps.
Yeah, for sure. And you might get robbed there, to be honest. You think I could be an honorary Kappa?
I'm sorry?
An honorary Kappa. An honorary Kappa.
We don't do that, bro.
For real?
No, no. All the other organizations, they'll make somebody an honorary something, but no, you got to. Hey, Ryan,
bro.
You got to pledge, bro.
I've been across the sand, bro.
No, you don't want them sands, bro. you think Atlanta ATL scoop is hot? Yeah. If we scoop that sand on your ass,
yeah, man.
You don't want that, bro.
This is another episode. Today was with Ryan Cameron, man. I appreciate you coming out, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Boy, knock it off.